Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
The COVID warning, Eric. They say it doesn't really matter anymore, according to YouTube. They just want us gone. How are you, young man?
I'm feeling great. I'm not quite so sunburned as I was last week.
Yes, I see that. You're black again.
Yeah, I'm my normal color, where it's much easier for me to understand how to use the internet and get ID and all that fun stuff.
You can't say that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't. That's pretty much illegal at this point. You know who was talking about that was I forget who he is, but he's the attorney general for not Georgia, North Carolina. A black guy was just being like, "This is so, like," he was in some sort of hearing, and he was saying how insulting it is, considering he had grandparents that lived through Jim Crow and ancestor of slaves and everything, and he's like, there has been stuff, but this is just stupid. Like, this is insulting.
Yeah. I actually saw that today. I forget the guy's name, but I think I just saw that earlier today. Probably on you. I don't know, dude. I'm taking so much stuff. I forget exactly where I see all of it, but I know the clip you're talking about. I forget the guy's name. And half the time I'm like trying to do two things at one time. So I don't know what's on YouTube versus what's on Instagram versus what's on
it all blends
Telegram.
together, doesn't it?
It all blends together, yeah. But good news on the warning, I guess. Sort of good news. I don't know.
No, that was bad news. That they don't care about the warning. They'll still kick you off anymore.
Oh, I thought maybe like it's over. Okay, like we'll let you go back to normal. No, they're saying you could put the warning, but we don't care. You're still gonna get kicked off if you say something that we don't like.
Anything about the same thing. Anything about widespread election things. You're not. See, I have to censor myself there. And,
irregularities or anomalies.
Yeah, widespread. They don't like that because Joe Biden is the 9,000th president of the universe. And again, the other disease-related stuff, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. We got lots to get to. We've got BLM. We've got San Francisco. We've got Manhattan. We've got the border. We're covering all hemispheres of the United States. Let's call it that, even though it's all in the same hemisphere. Let's start with BLM, though. If we could get to a nice sharing of this amazing video. And I say that half kidding. So BLM protesters on the Brooklyn Bridge. You want to kind of commentate what we're seeing here?
Yeah, so this is actually right around where I was detained for protesting the lockdown just about a year ago. And what's hilarious about this is that this is the third time inside of 1 year that I can recall that this has happened. And, looking back at it now, I maybe could have given you some more links, but the first time I remember this, not the first time, but the first of this recent iteration of this is where one of the protesters like smashed a cop on the top of the head with a pipe. I don't know if you remember that one. There's some photos floating around and he was all bloody and stuff. So this is clearly never going to end, right? But in their defense, I don't think that these crazy people ever for 1 second yes, that's the one. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God. A large pipe? No, that's a cane.
Okay. But the guy's like bloody. He bloodied a cop. But nobody will talk about that. It doesn't really seem to register. It doesn't seem to ruffle any feathers. And again, look, I don't love the police. I'm not like one of the back the blue type of guys, mostly because I was arrested by an unconstitutional cop for simply exercising my First Amendment right. And, my younger years, whatever. The thing is, I'm not stupid, and I realize you can't go smashing cops with pipes. And the thing is, you watch this clip, these people blocking traffic again, and it's only days after and we'll get to it, they trashed a monument up in Columbus Circle after de Blasio had promised that there was going to be a safe summer. So it's clear that there's no, and you could look into that as well. I mean, de Blasio actually said that, and they made up all sorts of nonsensical things like, oh, we're going to do, I think there was something called like a non-violence rally. It's like,
Mm.
who
Surely that
who
will
are the
result in nonviolence.
and all sorts of gun buybacks. And I saw it firsthand when I was in Flatbush. I saw it firsthand. These little signs were popping up everywhere. You could look them up on my Instagram story. They were like, call this number if you know somebody that has an illegal gun, and you can call this number if you want to turn in your illegal gun. And it's just like, if you think that putting up signs, they're not even laminated. One day of rain annihilates these little paper signs that they put up everywhere, and it just becomes so abundantly clear that there is some sort of, I mean, the corruption in New York is just it's beyond repair.
It's like in The Simpsons when they say free boats for Homer and the other guy. They just arrest him. It's the same thing about the after the trial finished last week, and no matter what was going to happen, these people needed to riot for some reason in order to feel good. And there's the one guy standing there on top of a car or whatever. This is after that they attacked that truck driver, and they said we needed to come out here in order to get this verdict. So even if it doesn't matter if something's wrong or not, we need to riot to get what we want, even if it's not correct or not based on it. So the logic that anything's going to stop this, or that it should stop if things go correctly, let's say, instead of right or wrong, it's just not there. And what happened to Biden complaining that this was all happening under Trump? Now we just ignore it because I don't know why. It seemed like at the beginning of Biden's administration that they were going to put a stop to it. They put a stop to a lot of Antifa stuff, but it keeps continuing. Antifa still runs Portland and Seattle, and BLM still runs all these defund the police cities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now even Bill Maher is having to talk about how many young people say they should abolish police. Like, what was going to happen? What's her face there? Girl with the stabbing. Like, the social worker was going to come and talk them down, and they say, "Why can't a cop break that up?" Like, the girl was probably like 250 pounds, 16 years old. She's not 10.
She was a big girl.
She was bigger than a big girl. From one of your houses, I'll say house, to another. Hometowns. That's what I was looking for. Liberal Utopia, San Francisco. More deaths from drug ODs than COVID in Liberal Utopia, San Francisco. That's a little bit of a biased title, Gateway Pundit.
Yeah, it totally is. But this is just hilarious because I noticed that there are Bay Area counties that are. There was one I saw. I think it was. Don't quote me here, but I think it was Santa Rosa, where they said, "Oh well, Santa Rosa is not going into the yellow tier, which is the least restrictive." So they're still not even getting close to offering you actual freedom or your 2019 a semblance of resemblance of what your freedom was. They're saying that you're not even going to get certain counties in the Bay Area, I should say, are not even going to send you into the yellow tier, which is the least restrictive, stating that spring break travel brought around a spike in cases. But they will completely ignore the fact that, I mean, look, you don't have to go to San Francisco to realize, or I should say it this way. If you are from the area like I am, I mean, I only spent the last 5 or 6 years in New York. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, right? That's where I spent most of my life. So if you were to spend even a week in there, it would become crystal clear that the drugs, the open air drug markets, the homelessness, the tents, the human feces on the street are far more invasive than this virus could ever be. And I've mentioned it before, the mayor of San Francisco, who was only appointed because the previous mayor died in a Safeway, in a supermarket. Now, I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but Ed Lee was, he was known to be sort of like gang affiliated. They installed London Breed, who was incredibly corrupt. She was taking gifts from a man who was, supposed to be cleaning up the city, the head of the Department of Public Works in San Francisco. She was caught taking gifts from him. He was caught by the FBI. So think about that. He was caught by the FBI for taking bribes, and we all know that the FBI is not is not one to go after the left wing. They love the Democrats. They are in cahoots with the Democrat. They are, as far as I'm concerned, the enforcement arm outside of Antifa. They are the sort of more legal enforcement arm of the left. So the point I'm trying to make is all of those things are happening in San Francisco. It's all completely corrupt. Newsom ruined San Francisco before Ed Lee, before London Breed got installed. He's doing his whole French laundry thing, saying that the state can reopen in June. Meanwhile, it's crystal clear that these drug zombies, and again, it's also a sanctuary city. Let's not forget about that. So you can come and go as you please. You don't have to have paperwork. All of that stuff contributes to this problem of the drug overdoses, but they won't talk about it. They will only talk about COVID or the virus or whatever. And to me, that is clear because they have control of that. They know what they've created with that, and they know that any numbers they push out have to be believed. Of course, I don't believe them, you don't believe them, but there's no way to double check their work, like I said. So they can say, okay, the numbers have come down, so we can, you don't have to wear a mask outside anymore. But they don't have control of the drug overdoses. They don't have control of the drug trade. So they just ignore it and pretend that they have complete control over keeping you safe and healthy with the virus. It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, everything health related seems to be ignored, except for the virus, which is crazy. Of course, can't go to the gym. A lot of places you're not allowed to exercise without a mask. It's some crazy stuff going on, and I think it's pretty obvious that health is not actually the number one concern. Here's the stuff from San Francisco, the stats about the overdoses, drug ODs.
And can we just say really quick though that on top of them ignoring the actual health, they're now, first it was just a donut, then it was a beer, and there was loads of things that
we'll find that list in a minute.
Yeah, so they don't care about health.
Drug overdoses rose across the country during the coronavirus pandemic, but in San Francisco they skyrocketed, claiming 713 lives last year, more than double the people here who died of the virus in 2020. So that's almost triple. 246. Yeah, almost triple the amount of virus deaths than actual overdoses, which is really crazy. Gavin Newsom, what's the status? People have been asking me about that. If we are allowed to recall our government officials like you can in the United States, because that seems to be probably the only reason why Gavin Newsom started opening up again, was because so much stuff was coming at him in regards to getting recalled, and people were getting close.
And the obviously, right, the icing on this idiot Sunday, who other than our good buddy Bruce Jenner to replace Caitlyn Jenner to replace Governor Newsom. So just when you thought California might be crawling out of the nonsense, now of course this is going to throw the left wing into a tailspin of cognitive dissonance. Transgender Republican, 404 error not found, I think I already saw some left wing articles that are kind of melting down. Like, this is just what did they call it? A vanity project of Caitlyn Jenner or something. And that very well may be true. But it's just hilarious to watch them squirm, because now, right, it started with Candace and Kanye, and they pretend that they're about black people, but obviously they're not. And now we have a full-blown 71-year-old transgender woman running for governor, but they hate her because she has mildly conservative views. And look, I thank God I don't live in California anymore, because at this point it's the lesser of two evils. But I'm not on the Caitlyn Jenner bandwagon. I know a lot of the people over at Fox, Greg Gutfeld and Jesse Waters, think this is a good thing, just really to watch the left squirm. But what this does, in my humble opinion, is simply bring this delusional narrative to an entirely new level. Like, we already have it with Richard Levine, the Secretary Assistant of Health or whatever, who clearly looks like Jabba the Hutt or something. I don't know. It's absolutely disgusting. But
there's a great clip out there from Caitlyn Jenner on Ellen, where Ellen's just shocked that he doesn't believe in gay marriage. and he's like, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I
Yeah.
believe marriage should be between a man and a woman. And it's like, oh, it. I mean, I guess it's possible if you really, really believe in Caitlyn Jenner and what he believes or she believes. Sorry, Twitter, I don't want us to get us banned on there. But it's still hilarious, and I think this is what California deserves. California deserves someone that's just gonna put them through a tailspin of weird emotions and is gonna, agree with them on all LGBTQ stuff and then completely disagree with them on everything else. So it's gonna be a wild ride, I think, over there in California.
Yeah, and I also, just for the record, there was another guy, Major Williams, who was also a Republican. So it looks like either way they may be headed towards a Republican, which history tells us last time a California governor got recalled, they did end up with a Republican, the governor, of course, who was still a squishy, like left wing,
Mm-hmm.
as far as Republicans go, he was pretty far left. But Major Williams, and don't quote me on this, I haven't looked too deeply into it, but apparently he's been charged with being some sort of a grifter, and a lot of people were very angry with him because they thought he was the real deal, and then he got caught spending campaign cash or something. Again, allegedly, don't quote me, fact check it. Just wanted to throw that out there so maybe somebody else will look into it and understand the turmoil that is happening in California right now.
I found the list, all the things you can get with your vaccine. Through May 16th, while supplies last, Budweiser giving a free beer to anyone 21 and up who can provide their proof of vaccination on abeeronbud.com. Junior's Cheesecake, Krispy Kreme Donuts, Nathan's Hot Dogs. What is Staples giving away? Staples, vaccinated Americans, free laminating services. So you can get your vaccine status card laminated for free. White Castle. So burger, hot dog, donut, cheesecake, beer, and lamination. All the things you need in life to stay healthy. Everything you always dreamed of. And in terms of intelligent things, you want to move on to AOC now that we're talking about like things that are super smart.
Super intelligent. Let's do it.
AOC is so dumb, and I know it's mean, and I know she got to Congress and everything, and I'm not even going to say I don't think she's a bad person because I don't know her personally. She seems like she could either be like not aware how crazy she is with her eyes, or she could just be well-meaning and not realize she's stupid. But she says this clip will make you certainly lean towards stupid and possibly evil, just full out communist without realizing it maybe. And there's not much more to set up. Here it is.
The climate crisis is a crisis born of injustice, and it is a crisis born of the pursuit of profit at any and all human and ecological cost. That's right. Which means that we must recognize in legislation that the trampling of indigenous rights is a cause of climate change. The trampling of racial justice is a cause of climate change, because we are allowing people and we are allowing ourselves to we are allowing folks to deny ourselves human rights and deny people the right to health care, the right to housing and education.
So she doesn't even know what she's saying, Eric. And here's the thing. What she thinks she means is that climate change affects poor areas because people don't care about poor areas. So, they might dump their waste there. They might have runoff there. They might have it next to a fuel tanker or something giving off air pollution. And then she also believes that that's where all non-white people live. So all non-white people are poor and they live in bad areas that get neglected and people don't care about because climate change is affecting those areas, and therefore no one cares about non-white people or minorities or natives in the United States. That's what she thinks she's saying. But what she's actually saying is inversely racist, as I think I just made clear, that she thinks that it's all poor and dumb non-white people living in these areas. And also to think that these new industry, everything that's an energy sector or anything that affects the climate, because they say, farming affects the climate, electrical plants, you could say hydro, car plants, anything that gives off uses any source of energy, has any sort of expenditure that contributes to climate change. Again, this is the argument. and if she's got a different argument, she's yet to present it in like 5 years of being a congresswoman. But this is the argument. She doesn't realize that it's basically the same as the voter ID. You're too dumb and stupid. We can't expect anything from you. But to say that you have to go along with this thing that climate change is affecting everything in life. But I would like her to point to just one place where she thinks, higher CO2 in the air, in the atmosphere, is negatively affecting this area, and this area is all black or brown or Asian or what have you, or native. And the reason that it's being affected there is on purpose. So she'd have to prove all that, and I don't think she's anywhere in the realm of being capable of proving any of that stuff. I don't think she's anywhere in the realm of fleshing out any of her ideas. I mean, the Green New Deal looks like it was written by a 17-year-old. It's all, we'll change all of this, and everything's going to be magical. We'll fire 1.5 million people, but we'll also give them salaries for 5 years while hiring the other 1.5 million people to replace them for green energy. It's all pipe dreams, and I don't think, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, Eric, that anyone who votes for that type of politician, either they completely don't pay attention or they have no idea what they're talking about. Because in order to think that these ideas work, you must think that, oh, it's election time, I'm going to vote for the politician who says Black Lives Matter and climate change and everything. Because you actually looked into their plans, they're not good at what their plans are supposed to be. They're not good at implementing them at all. You are better off going with a Democrat or a liberal or a conservative or a Republican in terms of the environment, in terms of like racial justice, even though the liberal and Democrat parties don't actually care, and I'm sure other parties don't care either. But the Green parties and the far left Democrats and NDP in Canada, the New Democratic Party, they don't actually have a plan for these things that they want to do. They don't have a plan for racial justice. They don't have a plan for climate change. They take their things from the UN, and these are all things that are in name only, Eric. I can't stress enough that when you look into these actual plans, they're not equaling the playing field at all. They're just saying, hey, communism's better, or my green energy billionaires are better than your oil billionaires.
Yeah, well, okay. Of course, she's just sticking to the script. I think you're actually giving her a little too much credit, right? Of course, she's never gonna. Well, of course, it's obvious that she's never gonna flesh out any of these ideas because it doesn't matter, right? It's just about sticking to the script, right? I mean, we heard for the last month or 6 weeks or maybe even longer that voter ID is racist. I mean, literally every single thing is racist. That is the card that they play. That's the only card that they have to actually play. And outside of that, is this an existential threat that's going to affect the whole world, or is it about dumps being in certain communities, right? Is this global warming that's going to affect all of us and the whole planet is going to die in 10 years? Or is this something that is affecting the brown and black communities in Los Angeles, right? How do you have it both ways? That, I mean, what am I misunderstanding? Like, okay, so it's affecting certain people in certain areas, but also it's going to doom the entire planet in 10 years? I mean, which is it, right? Perhaps I'm missing something.
That's true.
But again, I think you're giving her too much credit. They didn't, it was never the point to, come on, man. Like, I think this is, come on, man. This is me personally, that I'm just going to take a little bit more cynical approach and say that, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not, this is, and we discussed this last week, this is evil. This is not like naivete. It's the people, it's the younger, Nancy Pelosi wants to lower the voting age to 16, and the 18-year-olds and the college kids who are buying into it because, AOC is, kind of pretty and she knows how to use TikTok or whatever. So that's they are brainwashing and manipulating these younger people into believing things that they know are not true. Come on, like Nancy Pelosi, AOC may not know. Okay, so I'll give you that. She may not know just because she's young in her own right. But after being in Congress for a little bit, she understands the manipulation that's happening. Do you think honest question, Do you think AOC honestly sits at her desk on Capitol Hill and actually tries to come up with a way to fix anything, or is it just her coming up with another manipulative tactic to gain more power and divide the American public? She knows that she knows that this will never really work. I truly believe they actually know that.
I think somebody comes into her office and it's like, we've got this great plan to stop black people from being impoverished or something like that, or to stop climate change. Here's what we'll do, AOC. We're going to reduce poverty by 15%. We're going to give this money to single mothers, blah, 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 whatever the idea may be. And she's going to be like, that sounds great. And she's going to go out and champion it without actually knowing what's in it, because she can't write her own legislation. We know that. Ever since she lost her speechwriter, it's been crickets from her. And it, like you said, it just doesn't make any sense. Like when you think about ways that climate change can affect things, you'd think maybe, okay, flooding on coastlines and coastlines disappearing. Who lives on the coastline of Florida? I don't think it's poor people. Who lives like New Orleans? That's a huge city. That's not just poor people. Texas. And then if you look at farmland from droughts or something, it might put poor people out of jobs, but it's not poor people's land that's suffering. So I would really like to think, or I'd really like to hear what actual evidence they have for this. And I'm reminded of a time when Bill Nye, the science guy, stand-up comedian, by the way, if you guys don't know that, was on Tucker Carlson, and he said, give me some examples. And he said the growing season is much shorter in certain parts of France for wine. First of all, that could just be natural. You don't know that, Bill Nye. Neither do I. But even that example, is that an example of racialized climate change? Or is crops not having as good of a yield a racist thing? Or are you saying
everything's
because
racist? Everything's racist. I think we can all agree on that, right? It literally doesn't matter. They will wedge anything into racism, right? I mean, look at the coast of California, for instance, right? I can bet you that on the coast of California, from San Francisco all the way to San Diego, those are not poor people. And if climate change is really going to put them into the ocean, it's not going to be the poor people that are affected the most, or first, I should say. I mean, think about it. What Obama talks about climate change and then buys a $15 million mansion on the coast of Martha's Vineyard. So none of it makes sense, but it's just
what's that hotel, Chateau Marmont, that falls apart, like the land's falling apart underneath it? Climate change.
I forgot about that. Climate change. Yeah.
Those poor hotel owners.
It's insane, bro.
Where was this monument you were saying? Manhattan. What's this monument that got vandalized? We can play it here.
It was up in a Columbus Circle, right? Right. Ironically, right around the corner from like the CNN offices, or CNN HQ, I believe, or not the HQ, not like their Atlanta headquarters, but their New York operation. And this was what, a week or so ago. Yep. Yeah. So look at that, right? This, of course. Now, again, we knew that these people didn't care for Joe Biden, and I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody who was actually paying attention was going to think that Joe Biden would be able to stop this. What's funny is that the main monument in Manhattan, yeah.
I don't even know what that is, though.
Columbus Circle, right in Columbus Circle, like the main part on what I guess 58th or something in Manhattan. Okay, so that one's off to the side a little bit. I have seen that one. But there's like the main one right in the middle of the circle. And even when I was in New York,
the one.
Yeah, but that's not that's the main one, like in Columbus Circle, right in the center of the actual circle that is Columbus Circle. There's a huge statue of that one. That thing, even before I left New York, had 24. Okay, I can't say for sure it was 24 hours because I didn't go up there at 4 a.m. But even at midnight, at 8 a.m., there were cops. It was heavily guarded just for this reason. Now, clearly, either they got rid of the security, or the security just wasn't paying attention to the statue that was right nearby, maybe a block or so away. I forget the actual lay of the land, but it's just they will never be satisfied, and we have them on record, right? I think it might have even been James Klug, I forget who, or maybe Ami Horowitz or somebody who actually had the interview of one of the BLM protesters saying, this is a step in the right direction, but we'll never be satisfied. BLM is forever. Like, we get one whatever conviction, but that's not enough. And it's just like, it will not matter. So, I mean, they're going to want, George Floyd to be president and Dante Wright to be vice president before they stop doing this. It doesn't make any sense. And look, if I had it my way, I would take care of it swiftly, right? And now, of course, Florida and I think a couple other states have followed suit with their anti-rioting laws. And of course, they're mad about that. So if you would think they wouldn't care about this anti-rioting stuff, because from what we've been told is that they're all peaceful protests. So why would they be angry about an anti-riot law? You know what I mean?
They'll frame that as it being a you're allowed to run over people law. Somebody suing it, a federal lawsuit, of course, Orlando civil rights attorney. I mean, and sue it if you want, so that people can actually find out if it's constitutional or not. Purpose of these laws, nothing more than an attempt to silence Black Lives Matter movement and other civil organizations by limiting the ability to protest. See if we can find what's actually in there. Allows people to sue local governments over personal or property damages if they were determined to have interfered with law enforcement response during civil unrest. It also increases penalties for protesters who block roadways or deface public monuments and creates a new crime, mob intimidation. These statutes are not unconstitutional on their face, the lawsuit claims, according to the paper. Oh, are unconstitutional. Okay, that would have been funnier if they said they aren't and then argued it. They're targeted, protected, free speech. They target free speech. They're written with the intent of defining any such protest as a riot. It sounds to me like they don't want people to block roadways. They don't want people to destroy statues, even though I think that's a federal thing already, Eric, the statue destruction. And they want people to be able to sue the government like they did in Seattle when there's people destroying their streets.
It's just the projection is so I mean, we for the last year we've dealt with nothing but hypocrisy, but it's just the projection, like, well, this is unconstitutional. Wait, okay, so all of the lockdowns, all of the keeping people from going to work, from going to church, I was literally arrested for practicing my First Amendment right. That wasn't unconstitutional. But when you're blocking up the Brooklyn Bridge, one of the largest thoroughfares in the entire city, they don't want any. They don't want to cop to that. I mean, it's
no, because they want to be able to surround it and take over the streets. I mean, this is obviously legislation in the other direction, but the end goal is lawlessness so that we can usher in a new communist government. It's not too complicated to figure out. I mean, as soon as you separate, like, it's literally the communist agenda where it's like separate them by the classes and keep it that way. A permanent underclass who has a reason to rise up. And then you steal everybody's money and spread it around, and everything goes well, as we've seen in like
but you don't really
50
spread
countries.
It around.
No, of course not.
So wait,
yeah,
really quick,
I don't know.
Let me ask you. So if for instance, say everybody just capitulates. I mean, de Blasio and Cuomo, they already have. But say everybody's just like, all right, guys, you win. You are now here's the key to the Capitol. You go to Washington, D.C., and you do everything. They have nothing. They have no plan. They have nothing. It's like that old meme. It's like, well, I don't want a solution. I want to be angry. Like, you could literally hand them the keys to the city and they wouldn't know what to do. I saw it firsthand in Lower Manhattan. They demolished the whole block, spray painted everything. There's syringes, junkies, all that stuff, because they wanted de Blasio to defund the New York City Police Department by $1 billion because of something that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. De Blasio actually does it. He actually does it, and they say that's not enough. Meanwhile, crime is skyrocketing and has not stopped since. It's almost been a year, and it's only getting worse.
If you look at what they did in China when they ushered in their Maoism. It's take from everybody, and they did the same thing in South Africa and whatever the was it Rhodesia, whatever country Zimbabwe, whatever country, they took all the land from the farmers and then they had to give it back because nobody had to farm. Same thing that happens with all of them. They say we're taking all your land, we're giving it to whoever we want to give it to, because of course it's not just going to go to the people. They're going to go to the people in charge's friends.
Yeah.
They don't know how to run a farm. Everybody starves, and they're like, "Please come back, farmers." And it's the same tactics all around the world. Has it ever worked? No. What's the most successful one? Like the Soviet Union, because just by way of lasting so long, and people weren't. It sounds like I'm downplaying it, but I'm just comparing it against other communism.
All right.
But
Anyways, I'm just saying they could destroy all this stuff. And people could capitulate, even if they were to give them everything. It wouldn't work, right? Like, so I don't know.
No,
I don't know
wouldn't.
how long we're gonna do this. This looks like the end of days, bro. Like, this is the collapse of an empire for sure.
And funny thing, a Muslim guy I was in the military with told me that like 10 years ago. He's like, America's gonna fall soon, and I was like, I don't believe it. But I don't think he meant through like social justice warriors. Here's a sweet story that's happening right now. Kamala Harris is giving people her book at the border, which I'm reading is very illegal. Here's her sweet book called something. It doesn't even say another. Just tell me the title of her book, you guys.
It's like we're all heroes or something.
But she's giving it to children who come over the border illegally, and I'm pretty sure using tax dollars to buy your own book is completely illegal. Like, it has to be. How can you just use taxpayer dollars to buy books given to children who came to the U.S. illegally? I just combine my own sentence with the quote here. Thousands of children have come over the border at the invitation of the Biden administration.
And they even mentioned there the mayor of Baltimore, I think, caught federal charges for doing something similar. Remember the rat lady?
Yeah, superheroes are everywhere. So it's supposed to be a book. It's supposed to be a book that we'll leave that up there for a second. It's supposed to be a book that gives you the idea, of course, that anyone can be a superhero, everyone's special, that sort of thing. But we know in a Kamala Harris book that doesn't come with. But there's systemic oppression and racism that you have to fight against. Maybe we should buy the book and review it or something. That would be hilarious. Political book reviews. We can start with what's her 124th lady. Elizabeth Warren really dropped off the map, eh? So much that I can't even remember her name.
Yeah, Pocahontas, Liz. Yeah. Because remember, she would want you to forget this, that she wrote a book a long time ago. I think it was called The Two Income Trap, which I did not read it. So this was after Pow Wow Chow. So her first dabbling was in cookbooks when she wrote Pow Wow Chow about how Indian she was. And then she wrote The Two Income Trap, I believe, that was about, basically, again, I did not read it, but if I understand correctly, it was about how, perhaps the woman should stay home and maybe raise the kids while the man goes out and makes $1 million to support the whole family. And having the woman out of the house making money as well could be called a two-income trap. I only learned that from reading the title. I don't know what it was really about, but she would want you to forget that and say that, that's toxic masculinity or internalized misogyny or all sorts of weird buzzwords that they come up with. So I don't know. Maybe you might be onto something. Political book review.
It's easier to tell that the older Democrats are liars because they've been in government so long. There's a track record of Biden and the Clintons and Biden. Wait, did I say Biden twice? Yeah, Warren. Yeah.
Nadler, Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, you just go back and you see their reasons for doing things were completely the opposite. They all wanted walls. Elizabeth Warren was for one person in the family working, and now you're right, it's the complete opposite. It's easy to go back and check out exactly what they thought back then. But it's interesting how like it almost makes it seem like there's a plan. Republicans will be like this for a certain while, and then the Democrats will then come up to speed with them, and then maybe the Democrats will put them back in power, and then we got to come up to speed again. Because I don't recall like Obama and the Clintons when George Bush was president, being like, we need to end this war. We need to be against war. They were all still, so it's like they do this game where one side comes up with an idea and the other side catches up and they're the same, and then they leapfrog each other. That's just my that's what my book's going to be about.
I think why you didn't why we didn't see that is because, like we mentioned last week, they were all playing for the same team. Donald Trump came out and he wasn't playing for the same team. He wasn't playing for the Uniparty. Of course, now he's sort of become not too much more than a pharmaceutical salesman, which is not, not to my liking, but he wasn't playing the game. That's why it wasn't so polarized with Obama and Bush and Kerry and those people, because they knew that they were all in on it together. And Trump came in and was like, whoa, this is all completely corrupt. And they they freaked out. And that's why we're seeing this hyperpolarization to the point where, I mean, case in point, right? Kids in cages is now migrant facilities for, you know what I mean? It's just like the play on words. So they knew that Donald Trump was trouble for the Uniparty. And that's why now, look, that's why you have even Fox News now is like doing some special about George Bush. And it's like they all just played the game. And Trump came in and was like, whoa, this is completely corrupt, started kicking down sandcastles, and they freaked out. And that's why we're seeing these irregularities, these anomalies. I mean, look, to anybody who doesn't work in the mainstream media, it is clear. And when I say mainstream media, YouTube, Facebook, all included, they're all sort of, those tech companies picked up exactly where mainstream media and where the alphabet networks left off, right? So ABC, NBC, all that stuff, they realize that they don't have control anymore. Or the Democratic Party, the left-wing establishment, realized that they're losing their grip. So they just pivot a little bit and say, okay, you guys, Facebook, YouTube, you're going to be running the show now, because we can't, nobody trusts them, nobody's watching them. People under 30 don't even have a TV. So now you guys are gonna control the narrative. And our only goal, and we see it with Project Veritas, doing the Lord's work, bombshell after bombshell, of course, until they get censored every single time, basically, or he's suing, but they know that anybody outside of that establishment cannot be. I mean, look what they did to Matt Gaetz, right? I mean, it will not end. Like, but you look at Mitt Romney, who's a Republican, but he plays the game, he's okay. So it becomes clear where they're like Candace Owens. She's black, so she should be okay, but she doesn't play the game. So they got to smear her. It's become so crystal clear. I truly don't know how anybody, even high school age, can't see this at this point, but the brainwashing works, I suppose.
But here we are. So I heard there's a second book being given at the border. It's your book, which we can now say is finally out.
Finally here.
All the migrant children will be getting to see everybody who wants to move to New York will get to see what's actually going on there. Let's see what kind of preview you gave the people. You gave them homeless guy with a cart.
Well, that's a woman.
So you gave several.
Yeah, there's a couple, but look, but I think that's just the first couple pages of the book. But I mean, I specifically made that the first one because scroll back up just really quick. I just want to talk about this first image for a tiny bit, right? Like this woman is wearing blue gloves, the blue safety gloves, with a mask below her chin as she lights up a cigarette. Now, I mean, just really think about that. And I remember this. I was actually on my way to the beach. I took this out of the passenger side of my friend's car. But what has gotten into her? Who was she paying attention to? What was she watching that she thought that the virus is so deadly she has to wear gloves and a mask, but she's not worried about the cigarettes when we're talking about a respiratory disease? Think about it.
Well, she didn't listen to the government warnings on cigarettes, though. That's for sure.
Exactly.
So that's kind of interesting. Guy sleeping on subway, which not wearing a mask, unbelievable. I love the mask visor combos.
Yep.
His actually looks like to have does he have a tarp combination under there too? Like right here.
I actually have the book right here. That's
It looks like he's got a plastic covering.
No, well, it's just the shield, the mask, and then he's just holding a plastic bag, but he's got the 2 gloves on.
Okay. Gas mask guy. See, I mean, if you're gonna be consistent, nice shoes on him as well. The gas mask would work if you're actually thinking that there's a deadly virus. Is that a person? Is that garbage?
I believe that's a person, dead or alive, not sure, doesn't matter.
I love the garbage shots. Those are always my personal favorite. Besides the cover, which is the guy in the garbage bag,
Yeah.
I love the garbage shots because it really accentuates how New York City is. That just looks like a drunk person.
Yeah, that's a little bed up in Williamsburg. Now, keep in mind, when you go to Williamsburg at this time, you were looking at $3,000 to $4,000 for a studio 1-bedroom apartment, and this is what's
That's
outside your door.
insane.
Yeah.
A lot of people keeled over. I prefer the old heroin position where they're just, like, I'll bring it on screen where where the person's just like,
Yeah. I see it in San Francisco for sure, where they're kind of just like
keeled
just sort of
over.
yeah, exactly. That's very San Francisco. That's where we learned about the heroin nod.
The nurse with the mask, of course, standing alone. Safety glasses. So I'm not sure what the safety
Goggles.
glasses will do.
Yeah, that lasted for a couple of weeks. People were really doing it with the goggles. Fauci came out and said, "Well, if you have the means, then you could just wear goggles. Why not, right?"
Of course, goggles are known for protecting against viruses. That's why we
And you know
wear
what?
them when we
Oh
swim.
yeah, some people who do not have command of the English language telling you can't come into the store.
No, Musk. That could have possibly been another candidate for like inside cover or back cover or something. So many people just laying alone in the street wearing masks. So yeah, it's on Amazon, Kindle. So 50 bucks, 50 quid. It'll get you the book and
6
Kindle.
for the e-reader.
So yeah, that's available now. That's exciting.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the plug, man. Finally made it. We finally did it. We've been talking about it for a long time. I think a lot of people weren't gonna. Yeah,
Why does it
that
say
was like when
January
it started.
19th?
That's like the initial like publishing like inception. But after we had to do revisions and all sorts of things, it took the next 4 months, 3 months, because that's the end of January. It's like the end of April, so like another 90 days to get it right.
Well, I'm gonna get my copy as soon as I can. I know it's gonna take longer to ship here since they want to shut off all travel completely now in our country. That's
yeah.
a thing that's
Were they
being suggested.
like state to state or province to province that they were trying to like?
They've already been watching people like in the East Coast. It's really hard to go there. My sister has a property out there. She's not allowed to go to it. She was denied. She didn't have a good enough reason to go to her own. Yeah. And then
Is it a
between
rental?
Ontario,
Is it like somebody that
no,
it's
it's a home that they own. And then between Ontario and the province to the west, Manitoba, and Quebec to the east, there's provincial police, so like state police on the border. And now a bunch of people are like, for some reason, our education minister of Ontario is suggesting no international travel and no leisure travel is the new thing that they want to do. So basically just communism. I mean, let's just do it forever at this point. I was watching UFC last night and the crowd is packed. Few people are wearing masks. Sure, if you want to do that, go ahead. Other people who do, and Dana White said, people wear masks, nobody cared. People not wearing masks, nobody cared. Do your own thing. But I can tell you,
right?
Yeah, in Jacksonville. And they're just like, let me tell you, people seemed a lot happier being near people again. So Canada's just pretending that the rest of the world doesn't exist. It's really sad. I mean, earlier we were flipping the channels here, and there's minor league hockey is allowed to play, but I can't go anywhere. I have to stay at home. But the NHL's feeder teams are so important that they get to play. Probably not in Canada, though, to be completely honest.
But
so it's really stupid.
Could you? Okay, so what qualifies? I mean, you're media, right? So you're essential, right? So you're good for. I mean,
That's right.
Is that correct? Or at least you were. I mean,
You're supposed to
who
technically
knows?
be able to, but they still ticket in Quebec. They're still ticketing media because they have a curfew, and they just don't want anyone filming them like roughing up Hasidic Jews in the middle of the night at like midnight, because that's what happens like every night. And they just ticket our social media guy, Rebel News shout out Yankee Yakov. His name is Yakov Pollock, but he goes by Yankee. And so he's just out there filming. And the one that he did last night, a video that I think was from last night, the cop just said, if you ask me questions, then you're basically interfering. So he gave him a ticket for like obstructing a police investigation. If not verbatim, whatever the law is called here, but obstructing for literally asking a question. And he's
So
like, let me see your papers as well.
can you? I mean, you can. Where are we standing on the gyms? Those are still closed, or can you go work out? Can you
Correct.
walk your
Those are
dog? Can you go
closed.
for a jog?
I saw people getting harassed by police yesterday for walking their dog, but that's only the provincial police.
Oh, I saw that. I think you post that to your story, and then like that was
Something.
creepy, dude.
Yeah,
Where
it's
he's like, you already shut down my business, and now I just can't take a walk with my friends.
yeah, and I should be interviewing if you know George St. Pierre, even if you're not a big MMA fan or UFC fan,
Might know his face.
French guy. If as you can guess by the name, his coach. So he's got one of the most famous. His gym where he trained is one of the most famous gyms in the world, and their coaches said he's been harassed 16 times by the police, even though he's followed the rules the whole time. So I'm going to be interviewing him tomorrow, I think, just about that short little interview. So that's going to be fun. Always fun to the people involved in mixed martial arts. They're way less willing to take shit than a lot of the population. So that's why like gym owners always want to stay open, because they know it's about being healthy, and nobody's promoting being healthy. In fact, they're promoting the opposite of just, what did we see? Krispy Kreme, Budweiser. Nothing against these companies, but you have to imagine they're being paid to push this. Like, why else would you think or do they think it's good for marketing, just for that to be their social clout?
Totally.
No, it's.
And did you see John Legend now pushing
No,
the
I
vaccine
try.
on a Walgreens commercial? So creepy,
No.
dude. It's creepy. It's
John
not,
Legend and Chrissy Teigen. First of all, I don't understand why anyone I don't understand the thing about her. She's not attractive. I'm sorry. She's really weird. She had to delete thousands of tweets because they were creepy, and now she's back. You guys look out for on Twitter. Like, Twitter is just literally so transparent in the way they promote things. Whether it's a trending topic where it's just somebody at Twitter who wrote a description because there's no article attached to it, and then it's like, this person's back, stay on our platform, you guys, even though she had to go off for completely creepy reasons. It's a sad state of affairs here, is what basically we were talking about, and nobody seems to want to do anything about it, not even in the government. There's still to this day is like 3 people in the government who said lockdowns are bad, and we're a year in now, 14 months now, and now we're escalating it even more. Harsher lockdowns. And the people on Twitter are like, oh, that's not harsh enough. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And our premier, Doug Ford, the 600-pound man, came out on TV the other day from like outside somewhere, because he always does it inside. So he's trying to like make it more like personable. And he's crying because my friends, I hear the stories that people can't visit their families and their loved ones are dying and they can't speak to them and they miss their families. And we're sorry we tried to overstep with our police powers. So he's crying on there. Nothing changed. All he did was cry. There's still police pushing the things that they suggested. There's still everything getting shut down. There's still people being fined for protesting. Whoever comes out there and expects all this sympathy, I mean, it's hard to believe that like he's a mastermind, because he just isn't. You can like look into his eyes and tell.
Like Joe Biden.
Yeah, but I've heard the leaked phone calls with Biden where he sounds a lot more coherent when he's talking to world leaders, and not on TV. But so maybe this was a long time ago though. But the Ukrainian guy and the Russian guy and the Chinese guys. But there's no way Doug Ford's a mastermind. And to think that, oh guys, I hate that we went too far and you didn't like it, but let's just keep doing it. Like literally nothing changed. But he's going out there crying. And I wish his daughters would go out and just be like, yeah, we completely disagree with our dad. And what are you doing, dad? And that would be a nice news cycle for maybe a whole week. And then maybe we could get something done. But no, nobody wants to risk their political seat. Nobody wants to risk their own job or anything. And that's what it is. A lot of these politicians say behind closed doors and in messages to people I know that that they disagree with all this, but they're not going to take any risk. We just got here. We just got elected a couple of years ago. I'm not losing my job, Eric.
So I mean, this so it just will. It clearly this will just never end. I mean,
It seems that way.
Because California, even Gavin Newsom, who is literally being recalled by the people. Meanwhile, Cuomo in New York is there now. Of course, that story just kind of died, right? I mean, it was nursing homes, and it was sexual assault, then it was preferential family treatment, and then it was a little bit more sexual assault, and it was all the rage for like 2 weeks, and now it's gone.
Yeah, Emmy Award winner Governor Cuomo, no longer, nobody cares. You know, it happens far too often. What's Governor Blackface / KKK robes guy?
Yeah.
He got away with that. Elizabeth Warren pretended for 30 years to be Native. She got away with that. If AOC is still in office in 2030, she'll get away with saying the world was going to end by now. She'll be like, all I meant is that the wheels would be in motion. I say just make Greta a senator at this point. Even though she's not from the country, just get Greta Thunberg in there. She's just going to be like, you're all being mean. I don't want you to be mean anymore. My parents say that we should do this. I don't even think Greta's dumb enough. Greta's smarter than AOC. Her version of the Green New Deal would make more sense. She would just tax the shit out of everyone and not favor anyone in particular. She would ruin the country in a much more honest way, I feel like. Shout out Greta.
But Greta, she look, okay. Perhaps she's better than AOC, but it's just hilarious because you watch those old videos of her, like when she gets a question that she wasn't expecting, she wasn't on script, and she's like, "Oh, can you I'm not quite sure. Could you repeat the question?" but then when she's on script, when she knows she's on, she's so passionate, and she clearly has the speech memorized. It's just hilarious. It's so transparent. It's insane.
I've got an old video on my YouTube channel about how they tried Greta before. There's this famous environmentalist in Canada named David Suzuki, this Japanese guy. And he was always in these commercials my entire childhood being like, you need to plug LED lights or whatever, the coil lights. I'm getting some feedback now from you somehow. We've lost your audio. We've lost your audio. I almost went into Arnold / Alex Jones there, but no, we can't hear you. So the point was going to be that they tried Greta before. This is an old video of mine. And they used this David Suzuki guy's daughter at the UN, just like they did. So here's Greta giving her speech at the UN, where she's got hilarious freeze frames. And then in like 1994, they used this other environmentalist daughter to say the exact same thing. Don't you guys care about the children?
Hold on.
There we go. I can hear you now. Say something again.
Hold on. I can't. My headphones died, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I can hear you. So they tried this before, and it's the exact same speech she gave, pretty much. You guys don't care. Adults don't do anything. They don't think about children at all. We're the ones who have to live with your consequences. So it's just a revolving door of tactics that the Democrats use. And it's hilarious. And I would love to be able to interview Greta and just be like, Greta, like, what are you doing? Like, do you realize people? First of all, it's hilarious that people ever listen to a 17-year-old and we're just like, this is the voice of the future, you guys. This is who we should be listening to. But I'd be like, Greta, what are you doing? Do you realize that people think that your parents run the show? Do you realize that everything, your criticisms of that everything you use takes fossil fuels? And then she'd be like, yes, but that's the only way. I have to work within the system. And like, what about Michael Knowles saying that you had a mental disability that your parent actually wrote a book about, and then people shunned him? I really, even though she had, my network had not spoke of her favorably, and why wouldn't they? I would still want to have her on and just be like, honestly, Greta, what the hell were you thinking for those last like 3 years that you did that? Can't hear you? Are you just winging it right now? No, your mic isn't working. So it's a good time to stop, I guess. We're an hour in anyways. Did he have to recharge his I think he had to charge his headphones there in order to they died at the wrong time. So if you can't say anything, we've had a good week. We're gonna come back at you this week, you guys. Try to get a special guest for you. I spoke to Chris Sky recently. He's out west. You can go to his. I know everybody always asks me about him. He's out west. He live streams on his website, so you can go check him out there. You can go check me out at rebelnewsplus.com. My show's up there with Spencer Fernando. You guys are probably going to really like him. Lots of guests coming up. Lots of good guests coming up. Are you No, I can't hear you now. Leave and come back in if you want to say goodbye. Leave and come back in. Leave, come back in, come back. He's frozen there. So we're going to give him a chance here to redeem himself. But that's what's coming up. I'm interviewing an MMA instructor from Montreal. His name is Faraz Zahabi. Hopefully we can get that out. I'm interviewing, I don't want to give it away this week, but let's just say he's a rapper. Let's just say he's into MAGA. That's why I'm interviewing this week. I'm going to be interviewing another person from Texas. That's a big name too. We can hear you now.
Go. Much better. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Just telling everybody what's coming up, and that we'll be back with them this week. Do you want to have any final thoughts here?
Well, I missed what you said. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulties with the AirPods here, unfortunately. But obviously, the book is finally here. Thanks for the plug. That's pretty much it. That's it. That's pretty much it, dude. I want to get behind the paywall one
and Black Lives Matter, of course.
I'm sorry. Of course, Black Lives Matter. ACAB, all that stuff. Yeah, dude. Put me on the big time show one day, and we could plug the book once more.
We will.
And I promise my headphones will be completely charged up and everything. We won't worry about it.
Just run for governor somewhere or mayor for somewhere on a platform of environmentalist and BLM, and all the TV requests are going to roll in, including mine.
Start rolling in. All right, copy that. Note taken.
We'll get you on soon. All right, dude. Yeah, we'll be back this week. We'll try to get a special guest for you guys. We love doing that. We love to give them the triple split screen because it's hard to look at my face sometimes.
Did we? I feel like we forgot something that we're supposed to touch on. Whatever. Maybe we'll get to it next week. I think maybe the stabbing or whatever. Doesn't matter. We covered a bunch already.
I remember we were talking about before we went on the Grammys, the Oscars. What's on tonight?
Oh, I already forgot, dude. Well, I'm sure there'll be. I think it's the Emmys. Maybe Cuomo will be there. But
hopefully,
whatever.
Maybe Joaquin Phoenix will say something ridiculous again.
I'm sure we'll see a whole bunch of viral memes and stuff by tonight, and then maybe we'll be back on Thursday or whatever it is, and we'll be able to touch on that. I don't know. I got thrown for a loop when my headphones went out, so I feel like we missed something, but I'm sure we covered it all.
I was talking about Greta, and that I want to interview her and just be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, she's a mess. The whole thing's a mess. Hopefully, you guys can come out of that lockdown. Hopefully, obviously, there's no such thing as normal. We're not going back, but hopefully, it won't be pure communism for everybody. That's what I'm hoping. So we'll see. Hopefully, by holiday season, people have. Real quick, last thing. Do you think that there's still a chance for people to come out of this? Like, has that window already closed? Like, if you're already so deep into this, nothing can happen between now and the end of the year that you're going to be like, oh, okay, it's finally over. I'm safe now. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it feels like at this point, if you haven't already snapped out of it, it's never going to happen. I hope that's not the case, but that's what it feels like.
I feel like if I had to bet on it that it will end, if I had to bet, I would have to say before next winter. But then you have to think about if it gets to October again, they're just going to be like, oh, another flu season. another variant, because they're trying to use the variant story already. If I had to bet on it today, I would say it's going to end before the end of this year, but I have no idea. I don't know if people are buying the excuses or if it's just they're saying that people are buying the excuses. They keep saying the hospitals are going to be overrun. They aren't. They keep
Never
saying
happened. Yeah.
X amount of deaths a day doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Uh,
It's terrible.
I think
It's stupid.
I think Bill Gates, and I don't quote me on this. You could, fact check me, Google it, or DuckDuckGo. I think Bill Gates is now saying that we'll be back to normal by the end of next year. So for whatever that's worth, which means it's already over, right? I mean, like
I want to live on. I want to live on his property where the lockdown never happened because it's just like a weird, creepy. Everything's run by a Windows,
robot.
utopia.
Yeah.
Windows robot, Windows oven, all controlled by your Windows 8 mandatory update or something like that. That makes your computer slower.
All right, dude. I guess that's all I got, man. Go buy the book. Everybody, go buy the book.
Go buy the book. Go buy the Bible too, you guys. All right.
Yeah, facts. True.
While you're at it, they need Jesus.